Hello, everyone, and welcome to what's new in the Kawali release. One of the things I was going to start with is I may inadvertently say Kermit instead of Koali, which is our internal name, which is what I've been saying for 6 months now. If I say Kermit by accident, what I actually mean is Koali. We're going to talk about Kawali. The big feature in a Kawali is bank reconciliation. That's going to be the big feature in this release. And then we have some smaller features that we're going to touch on after that. And then the last thing we're going to talk about is rollout readiness and resources we have for you. So let's jump right in. Bank reconciliation, the first thing, we've completely rethought bank reconciliation and rebuilt it in Lightning Web Components. So we have a brand new UI. We're very excited about it. We've put a lot of focus in making it easier for you to do reconciliations. Some of the things we have is we can reconcile the bank statement ending balance to the GL ending balance. You can auto reconcile if you're using Bank Direct Connect with Yodlee or financial file import, and that should save you a lot of time. We have upped the source records per bank reconciliation to 8,000 from 4,000. We allow you to generate a summary bank statement PDF, which really is just the highlights of the PDF. You can also download all the details to a CSV, so you could edit it in a Excel or similar product. We've implemented filtering, which allows you to easily filter down to narrow your focus to something specific. And last but not least, once you're completed, you can lock down a reconciliation. All right, so let's take a tour in the system. So you can see Accounting Seed. Here's a list view of bank reconciliations. The first one we're going to jump into is a bank reconciliation. And we're going to go top to bottom here. The thing that we're most excited about here in this is the calculator, which is in the center there where Aparna's got the mouse. This allows you to kind of see at a high level where you are in your reconciliation and what's left to be checked off. So we have the statement ending balance all the way on the left. We have uncleared deposits, uncleared payments, calculated balance, GL ending balance, and a GL difference. All the way on the right, we have a pin. So if you have a lot of transactions, what it'll do is pin that to the top so you can keep track of where you are as you go reconcile. All right, so if we come down into the table of the transactions themselves, oops, we have filter. One moment. Let Salesforce think here for a minute. All right, we'll skip that for the moment. On the left, you can see things that are cleared. They have a green check mark, and things that are not cleared have a plus sign. You have a cleared date to the right there, and that you can actually change if you want. So you can just click into a cleared date field and edit it to a different date if you want. In this case, we have a multi-currency org. So you have an amount field and a ledger amount. So in the amount field, you can see in this case, Great Britain pounds. And in the ledger amount field, you see what the exchange rate is for that amount. So you can see both sides of the equation there. Let's scroll down a bit. Oh, we already have it's already been reconciled. So you can see by the green check mark that we've reconciled everything. Everything matches. This is great. We're going to select. All right, it's already completed. So we're going to look at the summary. So right now it's generating this PDF for us. And as you can see, it's just a very high-level overview of the payments and deposits and the ending balance for this reconciliation. We also have a CSV there where you can download for more detail, as I mentioned previously. The next thing I was going to talk about is Create Next. So this is a feature we're also very excited about. What this does is after you've created the first one, it's going to pull all of the important information, owner, the bank account, the ledger, beginning balance, and all of your GL variables over from the previous one, so you don't have to re-enter that. Really, all you have to enter is the ending date for the statement and the ending balance. It also gives you the ability to override the beginning balance if you so choose, but really you just have to enter the 2 fields in and you are good to go. So, and what this has done is it has started the next one and it has pulled in from Bank Direct Connect transactions that are already cleared. At this point, I am going to turn it over to Aparna, our product owner, who's going to show you auto matching.
Thanks, John. So really pleased to talk about account matching and its return into Bank Direct Connect, because we know how much this was missed, this feature. We added it into the Koali release when, as you can see, we implemented bank reconciliations, which was really large. So when we added this back into Koali, we decided to maintain parity with what was in the old Bank Direct Connect, in the old Bank Direct Connect's account matching. So we continue to support Yodlee and file import, OFX and QFX imports. Also, accounts still are required to have their accounting type set to either customer and vendor, or the vendor value. And the accounting active checkbox must be checked. Now, because of all the processing that's happening in the import job where this account matching resides, we have set a limit to 2,000 accounts and hope to refactor this part of our code and up this limit maybe in a future release. At a very high level, what this account matching does is in the the import job brings in the bank transactions, and if you have bank rules, the bank rules are evaluated against, the transactions are evaluated against the bank rules, and any values from the bank rules get populated on the bank transactions. Then comes the account matching piece, which then populates the account name, the default expense GL account, and any GL variables on the account. Just like in the old BDC, if 2 conditions are met. The first one is that the bank transactions description must contain the account name or the file import match name. And the second is a new condition, which is that the bank transactions account field, so the customer or vendor field, should not have been already populated by a bank rule, because the bank rule is not going, the account matching logic will not override anything that a bank rule populates. So let's take a look at a quick demo. So for the purposes of this demo, I've just created a few accounts to have file import match name populated, and 2 of these accounts are going to match on the account name. So let's enable this setting, and this setting is on Bank Direct Connect's bank setting tab. It's called pre-populate account info, and I'll click on save. And now I'll head back here to do an import of a test file that I created to illustrate a few examples. Import it. And map it. And when this page refreshes, you will see that there are a few transactions which have their account and GL account already populated. Let's take a look at the first one in a little bit more detail. So this one says, this one has ABC digital advertising, it has 6,000 marketing expense, and it has the GL variable marketing. We'll just compare this quickly to the account list view and see if it brought all those values in correctly. So it's ABC, 6,000 marketing, and the marketing GL variable based on this being contained in the bank transactions description. So here's that word which it matched on. And this is exactly like it was in the old BDC. The second transaction is very similar. It matched on the file import match name, this word. These two, you can see that the account name is contained in the description, and that's how those values came in. I have this transaction, the fifth one, set here to show you that there were no matches. And so this is going to wait for a manual entry. The last one, you're probably wondering why it has the word marketing, but it didn't bring in this information. And that's because I mentioned this earlier briefly, where if a bank rule has populated the vendor, then it's going to skip that. The account matching will skip populating the value. And that's exactly what I had. A very simple bank rule, simple bank rule that only populates the vendor value. It just says if the amount is greater than something, populate the vendor. And so the account matching logic has completely skipped that one. We talked about how all these values are populated in the Bank Direct Connect drawer. If you also have account, if you also have the enable global automated ad checked, then these transactions will actually get the bank transactions will have these values populated, and those source documents will get created as well. So that brings me to the end of this demo. I'll give it back to you, John.
So what some of our smaller features that we have in Koali is the accounting period recurring tasks, the payable credit memo apply screen, some time card improvements, which I'm very excited about, and automated job results. So let's go into the accounting period recurring tasks. This is kind of a foreshadowing of the future, we think, for the recurring tasks across the board. It's the first one we've done this way. So the accounting period recurring tasks is like a to-do list for people working in the system. It allows you to automatically generate to-dos on a regular basis. So I'm going to really focus on the bottom part here. Our new recurring tasks you have a create date, which is the date that you create the task and assign it to someone. You have an accounting period offset, so that way you can assign it. You can create it in June, but it really applies to May. In this case, you have a due date, which is pretty obvious. That's the due date. And then the part that we're pretty excited about, we have a new, so the frequency is days, weeks, months, years. And then you can say repeat some numerical value. And then it can end just like a calendar event, never, or on a specific end date. So you could say run this, create this task every month for till 12/31 and then stop. Or you can say create this task until we hit 25 tasks, 25 runs of it, and then it'll stop. So we think this is a big improvement over our current system. And based on feedback we get with this release, we will start moving it into the other areas of recurring tasks. We're also providing a group of preloaded templates for this. So these are things our accountants sat down and came up with a list of things they thought that most users would use. So we put them in the system preloaded so that you don't have to create them, or you can use them as a basis for your own tasks. And each of these has a word or a series of words at the beginning that's all in caps. And that's just a way for you to quickly scan through these and go, these are the reporting tasks, these are the AP expense tasks. We actually use this idea internally, and it's actually a really quite handy way to sort through things quickly. Next slide. This is our payable credit memo apply screen. This, the big new change here, other than it's obviously in Lightning Web Component, is we have a filter section. So again, you can filter on a date range, a due date range, a payee, a payable number, whether it's posted, and a max and min payable amount. And we have some really small features. The declined credit card payments will create a payment activity record, and time cards themselves will pre-populate fields when creating a time card, and the billable flag value can be cloned. So this allows your users to not have to do as many manual tasks going forward. So this brings us to readiness for Kawali. So for bank reconciliation, we've been sending out quite a bit of information on bank reconciliation. As we've noted, it is completely rebuilt in Lightning Web Components. There is limited functionality in the legacy bank reconciliation. You can unclear a source record, but you cannot clear additional ones. You can access previously generated PDF reports, and all of the KB articles are still available for your use. We also have a whole bunch of new KB articles for the new one. And again, we highly recommend that you try to catch up on all of your bank reconciliation activities through April 30th before we roll out beginning next month. Timing. May 6th, we do the first production push email is coming on the 10th. ASU and the knowledge checks go live. And then on this Sunday, the 16th, we begin our production pushes, and then we will push every week on Sunday for the next 4 weeks. So we will be finished on June 6th, rolling Koali out to all of our customers. Now we're open for questions.
We definitely do have a number of questions out there that we can address. Some of these we may just end up replying directly to you, but some of the questions that we've been getting so far. I've seen a couple of questions about issues that have been identified as you've been testing in Kawali in your Sandbox. If you do find an issue that is of concern that you think could be a problem, then what we definitely would like you to do is to open and put in a case describing the issue to us so that we can investigate it further. I definitely would recommend, if you do put in a case, that you also go ahead and grant us access and identify which the org ID is so that we can go in and verify what's happening with that. All right, so I know I saw a couple of questions regarding that. I also saw another question about some of the existing rules that you have put in and whether or not you need to go in and undo them, remove them. Right now, the rules and the account mapping will work together very well, but there could be situations where, let's say you've already gone through and assigned the 100 rules that you're allowed and you need more. Let's say you need it for something else. Then you can remove that rule and utilize the account matching. But remember, the account is only the account matching is going to match against the account, against the description, and as long as that's working for you, that's fine. If you need information other than that, or it's not going to work, then obviously you can stay with the rule. But my statement is, if the rule works, keep it. And if you need more, then you can look at maybe shifting them over to the account mapping section. But there's no requirement that you must remove things. So, other questions?
We have one here. Can I share the recording with staff members? Sure, absolutely. We have another one. So the cleared and uncleared transactions are only available via Excel and can't also be included in the reconciliation summary report, correct? And that is correct.
Right, that's correct.
There are a lot of general questions concerning Bank Direct Connect in general. What I would recommend, as opposed to trying to cover all the very specific BDC questions here, is put that into a case. And that way, one of our product consultants can directly address that to you. If you need more information, they can provide that. If there's questions about the account mapping outside of what's already in the knowledge base. And again, I would really recommend everybody to look and use the knowledge base. There's a lot of good information in there. Our technical writers have done a very good job of putting information in there, but there's always those situations where you need more. Put in a case, and that way we can quickly reply to you on what that information is, or if there's a concern about something, we can provide that information back to you. There was a question about accounting periods and how can future accounting periods be closed while leaving prior accounting periods open? And that question is simply a no. Remember, accounting periods are always have to be closed in order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can't have 1, 2, 3 open and close 4 and 5. That's not allowed. So you have to, if you have a accounting period that needs to stay open, then everything after that's going to stay open until you are at a point where that one can be closed. Online back, again, on the BDC questions, I recommend putting in a case. And we have, if you're interested in how many people are attending this, we have approximately 180 people attending our meeting this morning or this afternoon, depending on your time frame. And let me see other questions as I'm going through here. As far as what group that you will be pushed in, what we will do is they will send out a message a week before your week. So if you're going to be pushed on the 16th, you will get an email notifying you that you're scheduled to be pushed on the 16th. And that way you'll know that you need to be ready for it. And then we do that each week. I don't know that we have a final list of exactly who's who at this point, but again, when they do have the final list, they shoot out the notes prior to, so that you know that you're going out that week.
One here, once created, can the future periods be closed while leaving the current period open?
Yeah, I just grabbed that one. Yep. No. End of discussion. Thank you. Can we tell when our org will receive? Again, you'll get an email about when you receive Kawali. You'll have to forgive me, world. John says Kermit all the time. I go Koala, which is wrong too. So you have to forgive us sometimes with our things.
They all begin with K.
That's exactly right. They're all Ks. Yeah, a lot of these are about which week. We can talk to our team and see if there's a way that they can provide any information in advance, but right now I think they're still in the process of scheduling everybody into the weeks. They really do a lot of work trying to determine what week would be best for certain groups and what they have. It depends on whether you have the ERP module or not, whether you just have financial systems or not, also whether or not you have multi-currency, some of these other kind of things. So they really do go through a lot of different variations on how we want to roll things out. So hopefully when they get that in advance, we'll be able to let you know. But again, we definitely will let you know the week before you go in. A negative cash application, I will throw that one over to Aparna because I'm not sure. The question is, how will the negative cash application be presented on the customer statement?
In the bank rec?
I would assume. We'll have to follow up on that particular question.
We'll follow up, right.
Yeah, we have a very large number of questions coming through. I have seen requests for the, there was a question about fixed asset module in the near future. We do have a fixed asset module right now. It is not as robust as probably it could be. It is something that is on the planning stage. What release it will be in really will depend on the available programmer resources that we have to work on things. So right now, I could not tell you when that may happen. And there was a question again on how can we prevent inaccurate or incorrect accounting periods from being charged. Again, if there's a question or an issue with validating or verifying that the information being posted is correct, you can always add an approval process to the system, and that way you can have a second set of eyes review and approve to make sure that the accounting period is correct.
We have a question here. Does it work in Salesforce Classic or do we need Lightning? And the answer to that is you will need to move to Lightning.
And not only will you need to move to Lightning, but you will also need to implement My Domain if you have not already. My Domain is not hard. It really will not negatively impact you, but it does need to be implemented also. And if you need Kawali implemented in your Sandbox, when we get a new version, you just ask us in a case. Right now, the Koali that we loaded out in the Sandbox is the current version that we have. That no new versions or releases have been put out. All right. Other questions? All right, a couple of these are a bit more than I have time to address today. When can we show this? Look, can you show the Kawali release schedule again?
Sure.
I think that was on the
One more.
That one.
Perfect, that one. Yeah, so we start on Sunday, May 16th, and then we do the 23rd, 30th, and the 6th.
All right. Another question was adding some troubleshooting like an FAQ section into the knowledge base concerning bank reconciliations and tips on how to address out of balances. That's definitely a good idea. It's something we can take back to our team and see if that's something that we can add, because we definitely do. There are some, as you say, tricks of the trade that you can use to help you find where those might be out of balance. So I'll definitely take that back to the team. FAQ. I'm writing it down actually. All right. If I have a soft close or again, there was a question here specifically, how do you handle a soft close where you need to keep it open? Right now, that's not available in our system. Again, if there's a real concern about people charging to the wrong period, then you can implement a either a approval process, or you can possibly add a little bit of customization. For instance, you could put a box or do a check or something on the accounting period that says soft close, and then you can add necessary validation rules to the modules to say if this is marked soft close, you cannot charge to it, which would also resolve your issue. All right. And will they be I'll ask this to you, Aparna and John, will they be adding a filter function to the bank rec?
There is one, and actually I saw a question about I would like to see more information on the bank recs. Can you do a sample bank rec? John, shall we go back and
Sure, we can do that, show the filter, and yeah, because we have pagination. So the question I'm looking at has, you're not going to see all 8,000 at once. You're going to see them in 100 increments.
Yeah, let me set this back.
This will also show you how you can undo one. See, now you can see the filter between the header and the table itself. If you click the filter, you can pick cleared and uncleared dates, types, and min and max amounts. In this case, we'll pick uncleared, which is probably the one that would be most handy. So then you can see quickly which ones are still left to do. And then you'll see that there's a little pill between reconciliation and the table itself, which says uncleared. If you click the X there, it'll reload everything. And then if you click that, then you go back to reconciled. Did that help clear that up a little?
There's also a question here. So if a payment is made to a contact, not a vendor or customer, the transaction will not show up in the bank feed. Those will show up. These I just happen to make to just some test data with accounts, but cash disbursements or journal entries which are made to contacts or employees will also show up here.
There's a question here, will you be updating Kawali in our sandbox as updates are tweaked? And the answer to that is we are not currently planning to do that.
But they are currently on the most current version. There's nothing new.
No new version, correct.
Yeah. There was concern about the number of 8,000 still being too low. The biggest challenge that we have with the number of with the number of transactions that we can read is predominantly one of bouncing against or exceeding the Salesforce limitations that we are provided. When we bring in too large of a number of records, then oftentimes when you try to do the additional kinds of processing that needs to be done on it, we exceed their CPU limits, or we'll exceed the SQL limits, or we'll exceed something. I mean, everybody has their limits. And so the 8,000 was the number that we chose. If you do tend to do a lot of transactions during the month, then you may consider breaking your bank transaction up into, say, 15 days, 1 through 15, or into shorter periods. That's an option that you could do. Or if you do want to do it once a month, you need to break it up so that you can do it in 2 steps, because that maximum of 8,000 is where we're at. Right now, we're not looking at changing that. Sorry. Again, there was a question about, do you have a feature a request page for new features? If you do have a new feature that you would like to see, definitely put that in on a case. And once we get that, once the product consultants receive that, they will actually enter that request into our database so that it can be evaluated by our product team. All right, but definitely do a case. That's the best way to get it to us.
There's a question here. So I don't see Kawali in my sandbox. Can I create a case? And the answer is absolutely.
And I'm not sure if it's a time. Should I bring up that Salesforce issue? Or Pana, what do you think?
Salesforce issue, sorry, go ahead.
There are situations where if you have a partial sandbox, there's a Salesforce issue that is causing the implementation or installation to fail. We are currently working actively with the Salesforce team to rectify that, but it is not just a accounting seat issue. I think I counted over 70 different groups who had already requested or had identified this error across the board. So we're working on this. Salesforce is working on this. And so if you do have a situation where you have a problem loading Kawali, you can always load it into a dev org. Loading it into a dev org works. It's only an issue with partial sandbox. All right, just an FYI in case y'all haven't gone out and been spelunking out into the Salesforce tech library lately. Offer architectural reviews. If you need a specific architectural review or something like that, then you may want to submit a case and we can see. For training in some of these, it's outside of our normal support realms, so it might be something that we can deal with from a consulting perspective. So, but I would say put in a case when you need that. And we're recording this, but we're not going to make it available. No, I'm just kidding. We'll be sending out a note shortly after this webinar is over, and that will include all recording and how to access it so that you can then share that recording with others in your team or review it again for yourself. Let me see. Others. Sensitivity. Beginning of the month. Is the bank reconciliation sensitive to the accounting period when clearing items at the beginning of the month? The bank reconciliation uses a start date and an end date, and that's what it's going to use. It's if you have a bank statement that covers multiple accounting periods, then again it would bring all those in because it's looking for anything within the start and end period, start and end dates that you have submitted to it. All right.
Right, and it's using the receipt date, the disbursement date, or the journal entry line date to determine it.
All right. Related automations. There was questions about future automations. If you have specific automations that you would like, again, please put those into a case so that we can note that there is a desire for those kind of automations, and we can put that into our request bin for our product development team to take a look at. And again, the whole product process is we go through, we look at what the requirements are, what is the necessary level of work, and also a prioritization, and then we address the releases as we can. So, but if you don't tell us in a case so that we can record it, we won't know that you want it. So definitely put those into a case. Did you want to go into the legacy reconciliations and the effect, and how the new reconciliation process is going to affect those? Or Pano?
Is there a specific? Yeah, I'm just looking at the question.
Can you undoing the legacy reconciliation to fix something?
You can unclear, absolutely. You can unclear records on a legacy bank reconciliation. The clearing, yes, you can't clear anything on a legacy one. You'd have to create a new one to clear it.
There was a question about the reconciliations and not being completed. The recommendation is that the reconciliations be complete, that you're working on prior to Kawali being installed into your production org. In fact, the statement more or less is not a we recommend, it's more of a you need to have them done before you get uploaded in Kawali, because once you've loaded in a Kawali, as our partner just said, you cannot clear new transactions to a legacy bank rec, and any bank rec that you've created prior to Kawali is considered a legacy bank rec. So you definitely do need to make sure that that gets clear, that you finish those up prior. All right. As far as knowing what tasks that you are assigned, you should be able to see what tasks you are assigned by looking at your dashboard. You can also go, there's a task object that you can look at. Do y'all, John or Aparna, do you have any other places that they can go to see which tasks they are assigned?
On the home, there's that tasks, right? That's where you'd look for all your tasks that are assigned to you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I specifically went and hid that. Okay, we've got that. All right, I think we've gotten a lot of these answered. Let me go down. Credit card, that statement. Middle month. What do I do then for the bank rec? Again, there's a question about the credit card in the goes mid-period to mid-period. Again, start and end dates should be fine. Again, if you know you're going to be doing a bank rec that you may not finish before your Kawali, I would hold off and not start it until Kawali goes in, and that way you'll be up to date with Kawali and you'll be on the new bank rec, not the old. If you're doing, there was another question about bank recs that have already been completed. If you have already completed a bank rec and you've marked that complete, then those do not need to be undone. If you're simply going in and you add to that bank rec each day, so it's still going to be open when Kawali is implemented, then personally, I would probably recommend to unreconcile that and wait. And then once Kawali goes in, put those back in. One thing about it is if you leave those reconciled, you can always unreconcile them after Kawali, unclear them, and then that way you know where they go. But I would definitely be conscious about what you can and cannot do afterwards. How do we find out if our new bank will work with Bank Direct Connect? If you have a new bank that you need to find out, and when you go into Bank Direct Connect and you do a search on it and you don't see it, then identify what that bank is and put that into a case and send it to us, and we can go in and we can verify whether or not that bank is available or not. Not all banks are available in Bank Direct Connect. Some are some cannot be connected to, either due to their security or through system limitations. Some banks are what they refer to as a beta, which means they've got an initial connection, but they haven't built it out because no one's asked for it. If that's the case, then we will request that on your behalf, that the beta be built out. Do not expect a week turnaround. If you get it done in a month, you will be the fastest I've ever seen. But again, when you have a question like that, shoot us a case and we'll take a look at it for you. All right. How do you do a case? You go into our community portal, and from the community portal, you can go into open a new case. All right. If you do not have access to the portal, you can request access to the portal. And if you have any, and if there are issues, you can use our community link or shoot us an email, and we should be able to take care of that for you. And match settings BDC. What is the best practice for cash in, cash outs? Matching settings and days. The default settings for BDC for the automatic matching, I believe, are 5 days and 60 days. 5 days for cash in, 60 days for cash out. What I have found and what I have recommended to the customers who have asked the questions, I think the 5 days is fine. The key is how many multiple hits and matches are you finding? For instance, on the cash out, 60 days is a long time. You're going to probably, if you have a recurring bill that you match every single month, you're probably going to run into and have multiple hits. There, you may want to consider reducing that number, say to 15 or 20. Again, look at what you're receiving. How many matches per transaction are receiving? If you're still receiving 2, 3, 4, then you might bring it down a little bit tighter. All right. So that's what I would recommend for that particular piece. All right. And let me see other questions.
There's a question here, which is there a way to post a group of transactions on the bank rec? So we have the bank deposit that you can clear all receipts and cash receipts and debit journal entries on. We do not have a way to group disbursements yet. Yeah.
If you are running into questions where there is something that you have in Jasmine and but you're not seeing it in Kawali, put that into a quick case so that we can take a look at it. That way we know what it is. How do I verify my accounting seed version? The easiest way to check your accounting seed version is to go into setup, from the quick lookup field, type in installed, select the installed applications, and then from there you can find the accounting seed financial suite, and you will see what version you are. The current version of Jasmine is 3.79.1, and I believe that the current version of the ERP is 3.34. Partial sandbox without contact is supposed to work. I'm not sure if that's a statement or not. You are correct with the partial sandbox issue. If you can rebuild your partial sandbox without the content body object, that is supposed to work, and you should be able to then install Kawali. If you're in a situation where you can't do that, then you may need to use a dev org. Naming conventions for our attachments. I think that we have a standard naming convention of the account and the billing number, I believe, or something similar to that.
If we have any new questions, they come in quickly, we can answer them. We can confirm quickly. It's May 16th is the first one, the 23rd, 30th, and the 6th.
Oh, there was a question about testing BDC in a sandbox. The only way to test BDC in a sandbox is using the file import. This is because our partner, Yodely, who handles the aggregations for us, will not allow a direct connection to the bank from a test org like a sandbox. So there's no way that you can directly test your bank connection if you're in a sandbox, unfortunately. But that's not our rules. That's a rule from Yodely.
All right, we're at 5 of. I would like to thank everyone for participating in our webinar. A lot of great questions. Thank you again. And we look forward to pushing Kawali to you in a matter of weeks.